Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And today, we're bringing back a long-time fan favorite classic back to the channel, that being My Hero Academia Armored Adventures. What If Deku Was Iron Man? Season 2, Part 1. Now, I have to be honest, the reason why the first whole part of this series isn't called Season 1 is because I technically went through the first 3 seasons of My Hero Academia. And again, when I was doing these anime Marvel stories in the beginning, I really didn't know how far I was going to take it, how far it was going to grow. So to be entirely honest, I didn't think I'd have any chance of doing the series past the first 3 seasons. But enough of you guys liked it. You've seen how big the anime Marvel world has grown. So because of that, we're coming back with Season 2, which will technically cover My Hero Academia Season 4. Picking up where we last left off with Izuku Midoriya and friends, as they had defeated All For One along with the Mandarin. And on top of that, we'll also be seeing the fallout for Izuku following the events of Avengers Multiverse of Madness, and for someone else who had their own fair share in the multiverse. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. A wise man once said that the only 2 things guaranteed in life are death and taxes. And depending on who you ask, sometimes even those aren't guarantees. Izuku sat in the basement of his lab. He had taken some time off. In fact, UA had put in time off for the students following the events that had taken place. For Izuku, it was much needed recovery after everything he had been through. He hadn't told anyone about his experience, about the multiverse, that is. What do you do after you experience something like that? An adventure of that magnitude. You come back home. You try to live a normal life. You try not to let the things you saw affect you, but in the end, how can it not? Izuku saw a whole other part of the universe. A place very few will ever get to go. He saw what lied beyond the veil of his world, knowing that they are hopelessly, hilariously outgunned. And sure, he met some amazing people with powers far beyond anything he could possibly fathom, but at the same time it filled him with a sense of dread. Of course, Izuku still had his own issues. As you know, his late father was a part of an organization known as the 10 Elder Stars, a secret organization that guarded the Makuan power rings against the dark forces of their world. One in particular headed by his friend's father, Shang-Chi, known as the 10 Shadows. It culminated ultimately in a battle for good and evil. A battle won by the light, but at the cost of the 10 rings. With the Makuan rings being destroyed, it was believed that the crisis was now abated. With the stones that contained the power within them no longer in access, Izuku and the others who knew of the secret decided that maybe it was time for the old tradition to end with them. What was left of the 10 Elder Stars was disbanded. T'Challa returned back home to Wakanda, no longer needing to keep up an alias and no longer needing to attend UA. As for Shang, he too was taking some time off. He wanted to go back home to China to check on his mother, as well as deal with any of the fallout that would come from his father's untimely demise. Although before leaving, Izuku did have time to leave him a gift. You see, the 10 Makuan rings, each ring having a unique power and ability. The stones that came from another world that had that power were destroyed, but the ring bands themselves still existed. It took some ingenuity, but eventually Izuku was able to convert the little ring bands that would originally only fit on each finger, making them into armbands that you could slip 5 on each arm. He gave the bandlets to Shang. After all, he was the one who was master over Chi. If he could find any use for them, well, they were his now. Shang took the gifts. He encouraged Izuku, promising he'd be back in due time. And from there, Izuku had to deal with the fallout of it all. There was the student known as Aoyama. Of course, he was unsuspecting to many, but he had disappeared. The reason? His cover had been blown by Izuku. The one who had been the traitor, who had been leaking out UA secrets, it was him. But still, they were left to wonder, why did Aoyama do what he did? And even more so, how did Izuku figure out the truth? He remembered the conversation he had with Mr. Aizawa and with Principal Nezu. It's still disheartening to think that Aoyama could be the one responsible. How are you able to deduce this, Izuku? Well, honestly, it goes back to quirks and what I've been able to see about them. Being born quirkless myself, it only meant that I had to pay even more attention to quirks and quirk users. After all, I am an All Might fan. But still, there's something that I've come to learn about quirks. A lot more than maybe even the average quirk user. You could say it's quirk psychology. Quirk psychology? Yeah. Well, more so the physiology, but there is a psychology to it. But to keep it simple, when you think about quirks and how it works with the body itself, the body has to be made compatible with the quirk. Granted, you will have some defects. After all, some quirks are just inherently more dangerous than others, no matter how well your body tries to adapt to it. But it does adapt to a certain degree. With Aoyama, his body seemingly never made that adaptation. It's not like a poor adaptation. I guess the best way to put it, think about it like this. You know how you have the square peg and the round peg that children use to play games with? The two adults would nod. Well, think about it like this. The object is supposed to fit perfectly into the hole it's designed for. For someone who, say, isn't fully compatible, imagine a smaller round peg going into a larger round hole. Both sizes are the same, but it doesn't fit comfortably. It's odd, it's loose, it's everywhere. It's not quite tight, but at the same time, you know that's where it's supposed to be. But with Aoyama, it's literally like sticking a square peg in a round hole. It's simply not supposed to be there. And then, when the idea of a traitor was floated around, I started doing more research. Granted, some children are late bloomers with their quirks. But tell me, how would a quirkless person have their quirks suddenly manifest and be registered just in time before taking an entrance exam to a hero school? I mean, the odds are pretty low. Not impossible, but still, those are pretty low odds. A lot about Aoyama just didn't really add up. And, well, I took a guess. And I just happened to be right, unfortunately. It's unfortunate indeed. Even more so, we've sent the authorities to try to find him or his parents. They've gone completely ghost, Mr. Aizawa would say. In all likelihood, it means he is in allegiance with the League of Villains, and by extension, All for One, who's currently locked up deep in the depths of Tartarus prison. He's not talking and there's no chance of him getting out. But still, we have to be on guard. We don't know what Aoyama could have spilled, and there's no telling what he'll do next. The thing is, Izuku tried to say, I don't think he was a bad guy. It feels like he got caught up in the wrong crowd, more or less. It doesn't change the fact that he's still a danger, and we have to proceed with caution. But that's not the reason we brought you here, Principal Nezu would add, trying to be a bit more cheerful. You see, since you and Miss Melissa Shields have come, we've seen quite a growth. A growth? Yes, your Iron Man technology, along with her shrinking tech. It's far beyond even what many pro heroes would deem to be a true marvel. Remember the conversation we had before, Izuku. Your tech is unlike anything this world has ever seen. The fact that you've been able to build a suit capable of going toe-to-toe with even the best of quirk users. It's only going to be but a matter of time before your work gets emulated. Before my work gets emulated? People are going to want to copy your work. Even now, it's said that there are some high people in authority all around the world who are taking a great interest in you, especially since the sports festival. The fact of the matter is, you're living proof that a quirkless person can actually fight on a different realm. You've ushered in a new wave, a new style of hero, but by extension, it could usher in a new style of villain. People who felt powerless against quirk users will finally feel like they have a chance to step on even playing ground. And of course, I've never been one to say that someone with or without a quirk can't be special. But it is true, Izuku said. You have to accept the facts. It doesn't matter how smart or talented you are. If you're fighting someone who can destroy a whole city block with just the palm of his touch, then you're going to need something pretty special just to try to combat someone of that caliber. Precisely. That's why we want you and Melissa to be at the forefront of this new wave, to help us find these individuals, these children with gifts, to bring them into the fold as heroes. It's a lot easier said than done. Even I have to admit, me and Melissa, the only reason why we were able to do as much as we have is because of our situation. We're fortunate enough to come from a family that's well off, that has the money, the funds, and the resources to allow us to achieve our fullest potential. Not everyone will be as fortunate, which is why we want to make them fortunate, Principal Nezu would say. We want to give them the opportunity, the chance to show what they can do in a safe and controlled environment, to keep them from potentially falling into the wrong hands. If they feel like they have no way out, then there's no telling what they may use their ideas for. Izuku agreed with that logic. After all, it made sense. And speaking of which, that transfer student, it said he's supposed to arrive today. Would you be kind enough to greet him to the dorms? Sure, no problem. After leaving the teachers, Izuku would arrive to the gates of the UA dorm, and not long after, the said transfer would arrive. Welcome. Hi, so nice to meet you. My name is Pavita Papaka, and I'm Spider-Man. You know who I am? I've seen your work. You're quite impressive. You've watched me. Of course. I mean, after all, I'm the one that invited you. You? Of course, you got in on your own merits. After all, the exchange program needed a new student to fill in the roster. And after seeing your work, I just fudged with the system a bit to make sure you got in. You have a lot of potential, especially for what we've got planned. Come on, I'll show you around. Izuku and Pravita would look around the UA dorms, as he was going to be staying with the boys, of course. He was just excited to have actually gotten here, and it was a chance to start new, especially after that, you all know, an incident where you're getting ready to travel to another country, you have your bags packed, ready to go, then suddenly a technical portal opens up with a bunch of other spider people who drag you across to save the multiverse from some conquering evil multiversal dictator. You get the idea. But still though, this was definitely a change of pace. After Pravir had gotten settled in, Izuku decided to go back to the labs. He had been working for a while now and he still hadn't found a breakthrough. Ever since the Makuan ring that he had been entrusted with, the power ring, had gotten destroyed, well, now he was definitely up the creek without a paddle. Because you see, that power ring is what functioned all of his suits. Izuku, honestly, for all of his genius, never considered the possibility of what would happen if the power ring was no longer available. Of course, he had toyed around with the idea of finally working on the arc reactor project, trying to build an arc reactor on a small composite scale, but that was easier said than done. And even then, it still wasn't stable enough to last for a long, considerable amount of time. At best, he built models of the repulsor, of building something that was capable of lasting, but the arc reactors that he was able to make so far, well, they lasted for a few hours once fully charged, then they burnt out and were, well, completely useless. Without the stabilizing agent, he couldn't do much else with it. It meant that he had to build a lot of these things over and over again, make sure they were fully charged and that he had enough to spare for the suits that he used, far and few between. And depending on the actions he took, the energy inside of each reactor could be dropped dramatically. He was working into the late night when finally someone came walking in. Why am I not surprised? Once you pick up a tool, you can't put it down. Momo. Momo Yayorozu, the current user of One for All, as well as the official, unofficial girlfriend to the famed Izuku Midoriya, young billionaire philanthropist in the making. I brought you hot chocolate. I figured you were going to be up for a while. Oh, thank you. I'm thinking about turning in for the night. Is this your 21st attempt? About to make it 22. Izuku crumbled up a piece of paper and threw it into the incinerator. So close and yet still can't get the damn thing to stabilize. It's frustrating. But still, the fact that you're able to keep persisting like this, it's truly remarkable. Thanks. It'll be even more remarkable once I get it up and running. Who knows when that'll be, though. Hey, now, you'll get to it. What am I supposed to do? Class is going to be starting soon. I mean, with what I've got now, sure, my suits will work for a little while, but I can't guarantee on just that alone. I don't know. I mean, sure, maybe it was for the best that all the Makuan rings got destroyed, but still, my dad trusted me with the power ring. It was almost like it was his legacy. And now that it's gone, I don't know. Momo would wrap her arms around him from behind, giving him a kiss on the cheek and causing the tired boy to blush profusely. Hey now, don't sell yourself so short. That ring was not your father's legacy. You are. If he were still here, he'd be so proud of you for what you've been able to accomplish, for everything you've done. I mean, you're amazing, Izuku. Well, I'm only amazing because I have you all. And I don't want anything to happen, so I have to be at my best. You always are. And you're never alone. We're always here for you, Izuku. Never forget that. Thanks. Now, come on, get some sleep. You've got bags under your eyes for days. Okay, fine. The next day would come, and after the introductions with Pravita to Class 1A, Mr. Aizawa took the students to the training fields, where they were going to be having some special guests. They were known as the Big Three of UA High, the third years, the top three: Mirio Togata, aka Lemillion, Nejire Hado, aka Nejire-chan, and Tamaki Amagichi, aka Sun Eater. They were the cream of the crop, and among them, their brightest star, that being Mirio. So, these are the first years, huh, Mr. Aizawa? Definitely impressive. What are they doing here? Kaminari would ask. Well, we want you to get some experience with third years. So you're going to be having a practice sparring match. Against all three of them? Mina would ask. Nah, just me, Mirio would say. Try to go easy on them. Don't want to break their confidence too much. Oh, don't worry. I'm just going to be getting a little sample of what they've got. I've especially got my eyes on that cream of the crop. Hey, is that Shang-Chi kid here? Shang? He's currently not here. He's out of town on family business. Oh, that's too bad. I really wanted to get a shot against him, or T'Challa, but I heard he went back home too. Alright then, looks like you guys will have to do. Izuku had on his backpack, and after flipping the switch, the armor of red and yellow would dawn onto his body. He turned over to Bakugo, who was getting ready for the attack. You didn't want to use the War Machine armor? It's cool and all, nerd, but it's not really for me. At least not unless I absolutely need it. We're still rivals, don't you forget that. Unless we're saving the world, I'm gonna beat you with my own power. Wouldn't have it any other way. Melissa was also getting her suit on, finally slapping the helmet. Okay, come on. No, okay. All right, I'm good to go. All right, guys, get ready. I'm coming. Oops, sorry about that. Oh, put some clothes on. Sorry, it just, with the quirk. His clothes, they slipped off. All right, here I go. Mirio would slip under the ground, the students having no idea what had happened. Izuku had his scanners at the ready. He could feel a mass moving under the ground itself. However, before he had a chance to warn the others, Mirio was already up. Izuku watched his movements and said Bakugo. You saw that, right? Yeah, what he just did. The way he's moving underground. He's got a type of quirk. Permeation, most likely? And I'm guessing from how his clothes dropped off of him, the suit he wears, it has to be specially made for his body. Probably has something to do with his skin. In all likelihood. Bakugo, feeling like he had all the information he needed, went in for the charge. He threw a roundhouse kick, Mirio, already seeing it coming, decided that he was going to let it pass through, only for Bakugo to turn back at the last second with an explosion. Using his off-handed leg, he attempted to throw a back kick, Mirio just nearly dodging as he wasn't expecting that just yet. Bakugo, however, would kneel down quickly before launching an explosion, knocking away at Mirio's sight with the dust, not allowing him to keep track of where he was in that moment. Bakugo would seemingly move in from behind, looking to launch a point-blank explosion, not even giving Mirio a chance to dodge. Now die! Whoa! Wow, you're pretty good. If I hadn't expected that at the last moment, you'd have definitely scorched me, bro. You're something else. But you're still a few years away from taking me on. Now, watch this. Todoroki would go in for a strike with his ice and fire. However, Mirio would manage to overcome even that before taking the two out simultaneously. Eventually, Melissa would come in next. She shrunk and went flying straight towards Mirio, looking to catch him off guard. She came pretty close, but still, Mirio was even able to combat her. You're a pesky little one, I'll give you that. Shrinking technology, impressive. You're like a fly. I just have to swat ya! Ow! And in one fell swoop, she got swatted all the way to the ground. With all the other students being taken out one by one, it eventually left Izuku. He had been feigning in the back, only for Mirio to appear right behind him. However, Izuku was ready, countering him just enough to back away and create distance. I figured. You're the most impressive of them all, Izuku Midoriya. Mirio Togata, aka Lemillion, the boy that wants to save 1,000,000 lives. You've studied on me, huh? I study everyone that I admire. I have to know how to one-up them. I see. So, you're looking to try to take me on. After all, you've been hanging out in the back, watching all of your friends go up against me. I'm guessing you were trying to collect data, is that right? Well, I'd be foolish if I didn't. I consider that a compliment. Although I gotta say, using your friends as guinea pigs just to study up on me, that's a little low, don't you think? Not at all. I don't think of them as guinea pigs. They were actually helping me. Helping you? Precisely. You were making sure to keep your eyes on me while taking them out. That's good. You're able to keep your vision in a lot of places. But still, it also means that you were distracted. Distracted? Distracted by what? At the last second, Pravita would come swinging in, delivering a kick directly to Mirio's back. Mirio at the last second would dodge a direct right hook from Izuku that was just moments away from knocking him clean out. As Mirio would come charging in at Izuku once more, Izuku made sure to position himself to counter. As long as our bodies are overlapping, you can't strike me. You so sure about that? I'm positive. Every point that Mirio tried to strike, Izuku made sure that he was there for the counter strike. This kid's good. Really good. At the last second, Izuku would back away, holding up both his hands along with his uni-beam. He's gonna go for one of those palm strikes. I can phase right through it. Take this! There would be a large flash of light. Mirio, being blinded by it, would hold his arms over his eyes, attempting to shield. It was a fake? But for what? Now, Uraraka! Right! Release! What? Suddenly, multiple forms of debris that were hovering above him would come crashing down. Pravita would use his webs from his web shooters to grab all of the debris, slinging it directly towards Mirio. It was then, from out of nowhere, the last key to the puzzle would come loose. First, it came in the form of Todoroki, who would create ice walls to block off Mirio's line of sight. Then Bakugo, who would come charging in with another flurry of offense, Izuku assisting as well. While far off, across the hall of the gymnasium, the final key to the puzzle. I have to wait for the signal, Momo would say. She began to channel One for All into a technique that she called overflow. She was able to use it in percentage, similar to what you know as the full cowling, although she calls it overflow because it's an overflow of energy. The power would course all through her body. Overflow. 10%, 15%, 20%, 25%, 30%, 40%, 45%. That's my limit. Mirio would dodge more and more of the attacks. The debris that was now hurling towards them would suddenly shrink before re-expanding, getting bigger. Mirio would have to use his quirk on overtime just to avoid being crushed by the even larger slabs of stone. They were really coming at him from all corners. Just as he had managed to fend off against Melissa, just as he had managed to push back Todoroki and Bakugo, Izuku's suit was already overheating. What? I've burned through another core already? And that was only... It doesn't matter. She's ready. Izuku would send off a signal. He made it look like an accident as he shot off a uni-beam into the ceiling. That was the moment. All right, let's go! Momo would come charging in. Mirio had his back turned. He looked towards Izuku, whose power core was at its limit, as he ended up kicking him against the wall. Gotta admit, you guys are pretty good, but still, it's gonna take a lot more than that to stop me! Momo would come in for the tackle, wrapping her arms around him, looking to slam him directly into the ground. Mirio felt the force of his body colliding with the floor. He had to use what strength he had left to use permeation, moving his body underground, taking the flow of the impact before reversing, flipping himself back up, and delivering a swift roundhouse kick to Momo's head, knocking her down. Damn! You guys are something else! Oh God, that hurts. Alright, that's enough. I'm gonna call it match. You guys had a plan? Kaminari said. Why didn't you include us? Zero would chime in. Sorry, I can only think of what to do with a certain number of people. If all of us tried to move in coordination, it would have thrown them off. So you did use them as guinea pigs, huh? Not necessarily, but still, I had to come up with the best plan that would win. Well, I can't fault you there. Izuku would use the emergency escape to get out of his suit. As he looked at the arc reactor core that he had built, it was already smoking. Absolutely worthless. So, that's the famed Iron Man suit, huh? Done a lot of impressive things with it. Yeah, but still, it could be better. Say, you busy tomorrow? No? Why do you ask? There's someone I'd like you to meet. The next day, Izuku, along with Mirio, would walk to town, eventually arriving to the Sir Night-Eye Agency. Izuku had known about Sir Night-Eye, a former sidekick to All Might. Momo had even heard a couple stories about him as well. although he wondered why he was being brought here. As they made their way, Izuku found a rather peculiar sight. A young girl with blue skin, strapped to a strange contraption being tickled with feathers, and a rather serious and stoic-looking Sir Night-Eye observing. In order for one to do their duty to the fullest, Bubble Girl, they must be able to enjoy the full range of humor. I understand. I accept it. Please make it stop. Please, Muriel, help me. Okay, Sir Night-Eye, I think that's enough. Don't you agree? I see. You brought him. Good work. All right, we'll be taking a break. Oh, thank goodness. All right, let's get you out of there. I'll be leaving you to it. Yes, thank you, Muriel. Izuku Midoriya, please have a seat. Yes, thank you for meeting me. Likewise, I've seen your work. You're rather impressive, young man. I see. Thank you. If you don't mind me asking, why exactly I'm getting to that. I've been noticing your work, and I know that UA is having an upcoming work studies. You see, I want to bring you into the fold. There's something that my agency has been working on, and I feel like you may provide the tools necessary for us to crack through on the case. A case? Izuku was surprised by this. What exactly is it? Sir Night-Eye would hand the profile to Izuku. We're looking into an organization known as the Shie Hassaikai. They are led by this individual known as Chisaki, although he goes by the alias Overhaul. We believe he's in the works with another infamous group, the League of Villains. The what? The League? They're still around? Izuku's blood would run cold at that statement. You've had experience with them, haven't you? Please, lend me your strength. Together we can bring down the Shie Hassaikai and the League. Will you join me? Izuku looked to him seriously. There wasn't a doubt of hesitation in his mind. Without question, sir. I'll provide you any help I can. We'll bring them down this time. I promise. Includes My Hero Academia Armored Adventures. What If Deku Was Iron Man? Season 2, Part 1. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that is to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow afternoon as we continue My Hero Academia Armored Adventures, What If Deku Was Iron Man, Season 2, Part 2. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.